And with that out of the way, let's go right ahead and talk about the Knicks and their final series win against the Sixers. This was a very, very close first round matchup. Like, it was way closer than what I thought it would be. The point differential between both of the teams, like the total points that they all scored in every single game, the point difference was 1, and the Knicks were the team that ended up winning. So like out of all the games, total points when you add them all up for the teams, the Knicks scored 1 more points than Philly did. And when you add all of Jalen Brunson's points up in this game, or like in all the games that he's had in this series, along with Joel Embiid, the difference is also 1 point. So this was a very, very neck-and-neck series, a lot closer than what I thought it would be going into the series. And I immediately thought that Joel Embiid was going to get swept, or like not at least win 1 game in 5. I did not expect them to push this to a 6-game series. But regardless, a win is a win is a win, and it's obviously a win for New York, who just cannot stop but love all of the tears from Philly that are coming right now, and all of the it adds on to the fact because the Knicks also they've kind of been restricted from entering into Philadelphia's arena, because the 4 owners, they bought 2,000 tickets to prevent 2,000 Knicks fans from attending it, but there were still a bunch of Knicks fans in those stands. They run very deep, and regardless, like as said previously, like the series was very, very close, and I really think that ultimate deciding factor to this series not being like pushed to 7 games was that crowd. And that Knicks crowd over in Game 4. I think when they were in Philly the first time, it sort of rattled them. But once they were there the second time and the Knicks fans were taking over the entirety of the stadium, then I sort of felt, well, not the stadium, but the arena. I felt that sort of gave them a much more of an advantage, because it felt like they were basically playing a home game, especially when you take into account that Josh Hart, DiVincenzo, and Brunson all came from Villanova, which is considered a Philly school. In fact, I'm talking a lot more about New York than I'm really talking about Philly, who's in shambles right now. But Joel Embiid, he played very well in this elimination game. He ended with 39 points and 13 rebounds. Like, a lot of people are saying that, like, you can't really blame Embiid for this kind of thing, but, and this kind of loss. I'm very tempted to try and argue that, simply because I genuinely just don't think this one performance completely absolves every other problem that he brought in for the Sixers. But regardless, like, his numbers, they were very, very good. Obviously, they were inflated because of his free throws and whatnot. But he did have very good numbers in the previous few playoff games, and he dropped 39 in the last game. He dropped 19 in Game 6, he dropped, not in Game 6, Game 5, 27 in Game 4, 50 in Game 3, 34 in Game 2, and 29 in Game 1. And, those are really good numbers. So I wanted to try to argue that, but I definitely cannot, because Joel Embiid's numbers are just ridiculous, and there's really, it's really difficult to blame Embiid, especially when he's putting out all of these numbers and putting up all of these numbers. But the problem is that even when Embiid is not the problem, the Sixers still find a way to mess it up. even when, because before there was the stipulation that Joel Embiid can't really perform in the postseason, and there was also the stipulation that Ben Simmons can't perform in the postseason. It's all of these things and all of these excuses. And I understand, like, at this point, like, you can't blame Joel Embiid for losing this series, but I'm sorry. It's been a while throughout his career right now. He's already won the MVP. He's already, like, been a finalist for the MVP several times. He's proven and established himself as one of the top 2 centers in the NBA right now. He should be making it farther into the postseason, and he shouldn't be falling short of the second or the first round ever, in, like, as consecutively as he does. It doesn't matter that he was injured. I don't think the results would have been any different. If anything, they would have just lost in the second round as opposed to losing in the first round, but they still would have gone down to the Knicks. I understand we can't blame Embiid for not being able to win this series, but it's not like we can say that he's capable of winning a series either, because he still hasn't shown us the ability to do that yet. And I understand, like, yeah, sure, it wasn't his fault, and there was, but, like, the only reason why people aren't saying that it wasn't his fault was because of Tyrese Maxey saving him in Game 5. Because in that Game 5, Joel Embiid played very, very bad. And he always plays very bad when he doesn't play at home. And when he played that bad, he got lucky that Tyrese Maxey was able to come out with 7 points in literally 17 seconds. And obviously, like, that's a once in a lifetime thing of seeing just that crazy comeback that Maxey did. And he ultimately got absolved from all, like, the problems that he had in the first few quarters, simply because they won the game. And you can't really like say that someone played bad when they ended with the win. Like, a win is a win regardless of what you say, especially when he was, like, one of the better performers for the Sixers in that game. But in this game, he sort of, again, like, this game would also sort of absolve him from any kind of problems, because he played well when the team needed him to play well. But in the end, to me, it wouldn't have really mattered, because regardless, it doesn't matter. They're going to lose before the conference finals anyway. But I digress. So one of the biggest things, like, with them, and the biggest reasons as to why, is because Tobias Harris. Like, there's always that one player on Philly that just completely completely can't score. I don't understand what it is, but it's just like they completely forget how to score. Like, it happened with Ben Simmons, it happened with James Harden twice, and now it happened with Tobias Harris. Like, at this point, it's just, like, it's stuff that's, like, it's completely stuff outside of Embiid's control, and maybe even outside of the player's control, because it's, like, it's weird. Like, it's odd how every time they try to refuel, every time they try to get better, every time they try to make moves that could result into them seeing success, then somebody on the team just lets them down with the game or the season in the balance, and just completely lets them down. And in this time it was Tobias Harris who ended up putting up this stinker of a performance. And Maxey also didn't play that well in this game either. 6 of 18 from the field and 17 points. And, like, I'm really not going to talk that much about Maxey, because his the way he played throughout the entirety of this series is insane. But yes, what this means for the Sixers in going into the next season. I think this season was a dramatic disappointment, only because, like, it was hyped, like, in the beginning of this season, it was hyped up that the Sixers team was going to be very, very elite, and we didn't really get to see Joel Embiid in that MVP season. And we didn't get to see the Sixers go a little bit higher in the seedings, thus allowing them to make it deeper into the postseason and maybe make it past the second round, even though I don't think that was going to happen. And again, like I've been saying before, it's like with this Joel Embiid and with it's just it's just a struggle that always seems to happen. Now a little bit earlier than usual. So what this means for the team, do they refuel and do they try to run it back? I think they're going to try to take the pieces that they can on this team, maybe try to make it a little bit better, but they're going to go into the next season with a similar roster and hope and pray that Joel Embiid remains healthy throughout the entirety of the regular season, thus helping the team, in the regular season and hopefully in the playoffs. Hopefully, Joel Embiid doesn't get injured at all if you're a Sixers fan. And that's definitely the hope for the Sixers at this point, and their hopes going into the next season, because I genuinely I just can't this process, it's not working. I'm sorry, it's just Joel Embiid. I can't trust the process with Embiid. It's just, I don't know what it is, but it's he just lets you down. I genuinely cannot formulate the words for it because he just lets you down. But let's talk about New York, a less depressing franchise now. So Brunson just came off of his third straight 40-point game in the postseason. 41 points, 12 assists. Jesus, he wasn't snagging like that. DiVincenzo ended the game with 23 points and 7 assists, and Josh Hart ended with 16 points, 14 rebounds, and 7 assists. So the Villanova boys were performing in this game in front of their home stadium as well. That stadium that the Sixers play in, that's also where Villanova has all their championship banners, and that's when all three of those players won in the since they are affiliated with that school, there was a picture of Jalen Brunson looking up at the rafters and looking at Villanova and just remembering the good old times when he was on that squad. And it's definitely a stab to the heart if you are Philly. It's just downpouring on Philly right now, because it's just these players, they came from, because Villanova is a Philly school, and they came from Philly, and it's boom, these guys just ended your season. And you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And that quote is it's so powerful in that sense right there. And another thing, OG Anunoby, he dunked on Joel Embiid. That was another thing that I completely forgot to mention. He ended the game with 19 points and 9 rebounds. And Isaiah Hartenstein, 14 points, 9 rebounds as well. The whole team, they played rather well. I mean, it really, throughout the first, I want to say, throughout the second quarter of this game, it really seemed like the Knicks were going to, mess, it was a really gritty game. It wasn't, perfect in the sense where it was down to, it was, very potent on offense. It also wasn't perfect on on defense either. There was a lot of scrappy plays that were being made on both sides, and it was you truly had no idea what was going to happen. And I feel like that's always the case when you're watching a Knicks series. You just never know how good or how bad or how mediocre or how jittery the Knicks players are going to get, because those nerves as a Knicks player, they are real. There's a lot of them. I could never be, if I were to pick a team to play for, being on the NBA, it would be probably the Orlando Magic, come on, I need to think of a random team, and the Washington Wizards, or another random team, I need to think, or the Portland Trailblazers, because those teams I can go to, You play bad, nobody's gonna care. You play good, nobody's gonna care. It's like it's a two-way street with it's a two-way street with how this goes, because it's like you get if you go to the big markets like LA or New York, you're going to get criticized, you're going to get attacked by your fans, the media, everyone. You're going to get all the smoke. Everyone's going to know when you played bad. Everyone's going to know when you played good. Everyone's going to know everything about you. But when you're on a relatively like low if you're on a relatively like not popular team, like relatively not popular team, great English. If you're on a team that isn't really generating that much popularity, like via media, via sports coverage, things of that nature, or like broadcasted games, then not everyone is going to really tune into a lot of the games. Therefore, there's not going to be much pressure on you to play well or play bad. And like, just look at the Cavs and the Magic series. I don't think there's been a single game from that series that has been nationally televised. Not off the top of my head. I don't remember any of because usually when the Cavs play, then it would be like, usually when the Cavs play, it would have been either the Mavericks playing as well, and like, the Celtics playing as well, or the Bucks or the Knicks or the Pacers. Like, it would be between like either one of those teams, depending on whether they played on a weekend or whether they played on the weekday. But they basically play at around the same time that every other team would have played, and they're just thrown right in the middle of that mix. And it's really like, it's kind of not fair. But I digress. That's how it works. But I am way over the time for this first segment. So now we're gonna go ahead and go into the second segment, where I talk about the Bucks losing to the Pacers in 6 games. I mean, we saw this coming due to injuries, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about it after this short break. So I'll be right back.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?